So welcome everyone to the fourth annual meeting of the Virginia Funders Network. I'm Clark Castile, President and CEO of the Danville Regional Foundation and Board Chair for the VFN. During today's meetings, we're going to do three things. First, we're going to share highlights from the year. We're going to honor a retiring board member, and we will hold elections for the advisory board. VFN's 2023-2025 strategic framework continues to guide us. This year, we gathered feedback from members and explored where VFN should lead and where we should align to avoid duplication of effort as we enter the next phase of VFN's life cycle as an organization. We will share more about what we learned and where we're headed on the answers to these questions a bit later in the meeting. One of the goals for the advisory board this year was to develop a clear, concise statement grounded in our vision, mission, and values that describes VFN as an organization. Using your input from the member survey and working in conjunction with the Membership Engagement Committee, here's what we came up with. VFN is a network of philanthropic funders who collaborate to learn and take action so that Virginia communities and the people who live in them can thrive. I will now turn it over to Beth Littlefield, VFN's CEO.
Thank you, Clark. As Angie puts the next slide up on the screen, you will remember that these are the 5 strategies of VFN's plan to carry out our mission. Please note the icon associated with each strategy that we have been using as a visual representation to show the direct connection of our efforts to the strategic framework. The framework also outlines intended outcomes. As we provide an update throughout the meeting today, these same icons will appear as a reminder of how the strategic framework has guided all of our work. We should take pride in our growth since officially launching in 2020. VFN is now 134 members strong, representing diverse funder types from all regions in the Commonwealth and partners who bring expertise and support to grant-making organizations. Member engagement is at the core of the strategic framework. I will turn it over to Paulin Cheatham, Chair of VFN's Membership Engagement Committee, to provide just a few highlights of the year.
Thank you, Beth. Strengthening regional connections is a critical component of carrying out VFN's mission. Over 200 representatives of member organizations, many on this call as well, participated in this year's regional funder gatherings, or as we call them, RFGs. Earlier this year, VFN's board adopted the Commonwealth's Go Virginia regional map to align with our regional meetings. This realignment gave us the opportunity to invite Go Virginia Regional Council representatives to several of our RFGs, where we learned about public investments through Go Virginia's Economic Development Grant-Making Program, and how these investments impact Virginia communities. One regional gathering explored philanthropy's role in policy and advocacy to address community priorities. And others engaged local government and business leaders to identify solutions to regional challenges such as housing affordability. Please hear from Sarah Reardon of the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund on her experience at this year's RFG in Warsaw.
For me, connecting with other VFN members is all about building connections. At the regional level, it allows us to really pool resources, share insights, and spark innovative ideas that might not emerge in isolation within our own organizations. I think having the VFN network also helps create partnerships that extend beyond grant making. I know my organization constantly thinks about how we can leverage our influence, our knowledge, our networks, all those capitals to tackle larger social issues like equitable access and care to certain services. So I believe VFN partnerships really amplify our collective impact and make a difference, a real difference in the region. So this year's regional gathering in the Northern Neck was really impactful because it underscored philanthropy's role in public-private partnerships. Our Go Virginia regional representative shared workforce data for our region and recent grant awards made to organizations who are addressing the employment needs. We had dedicated breakouts with smaller groups to discuss strategies and actionable takeaways that we could work on together. And I think what stood out most was the emphasis on our role as funders, not just providing grants, but creating opportunities for alignment and scale. I think through collaborations with VFN, we can identify opportunities to seed projects, test new approaches, and ultimately position initiatives for larger scale, state and federal investments. It's about building a framework for sustainable long-term solutions, and VFN is a critical part of that process. I think as funders, we are in a unique position to bridge the gap between public resources and private sector innovation, bringing together those diverse perspectives, but also funding streams. I left with a much deeper appreciation for the power of public-private partnerships and the unique role philanthropy plays in making them successful. It became even clearer that our funding isn't just about addressing immediate needs, it's about building bridges. And it's a reminder that our role as funders is not just about filling gaps, but driving the kind of collaboration that leads to lasting change in areas like workforce development, like housing, like regional resilience. And that sense of collective possibility is what I'm taking back to my work.
VFN's third annual conference in Richmond drew the largest gathering of grant-making organizations together to date. Please listen to a few highlights from Michelle Nelson, Chief Financial Officer of the Community Foundation for a Greater Richmond and co-chair of this year's conference.
This year's VFN conference drew over 300 attendees and provided more than 25 learning and networking sessions on a wide range of topics. VFN members were informed by data and best practice models in philanthropy to advance opportunities for Virginia communities and the people who live in them. Several keynote speakers inspired us. John Martin, CEO of SIR, challenged us to serve as anchor institutions, providing leadership for community progress. Hamilton Glass, an amazing Richmond painter and public artist, shared his work that uses public art to build up communities through connections with others. Broadcast journalist Judy Woodruff spoke of the impact the decline in news outlets is having on communities and moderated a conversation to showcase the role of philanthropy in supporting local news and information ecosystems. Local celebrities Nutsy and Natasha, the mascots of the Richmond Flying Squirrels, joined us for a fun reception hosted by Bank of America. My co-chair and friend, Victor Branch from Bank of America, and I were fortunate to have a fabulous committee of VFN members who helped put this conference together, and we were grateful for the generous sponsors who provided the resources to make it possible.
This year's learning agenda encompassed a wide range of topics and explored best practices in philanthropic grant making. The slide highlights the many sessions, virtual and in-person, at regional gatherings or during the conference. Virginia Housing provided VFN with another $30,000 grant this year to continue learning and exploring action strategies for philanthropy to address housing insecurity in their communities. The Bainham Family Foundation continued its investment to help build VFN's policy and advocacy agenda. Clark will now share a few examples of results from VFN's work over the past few years.
VFN continues to make progress toward our intended outcomes. Here are just a few examples. In this brief video, meet Emily Schaubacher, the health reporter for Cardinal News, supported by a co-funding collaborative of VFN members.
I'm Emily Schabacher, and I am the healthcare reporter with Cardinal News. Cardinal News was able to add a healthcare reporter position about a year ago, and I was able to come on. I flew, in from Montana and started this work. I covered healthcare back home for about 2.5 years, and then I came here and started covering healthcare here. I have been in this position for about a year now, and I've had the opportunity to cover a lot of great stories that I've found really interesting and really fun to dive into. I worked on a big project where we uncovered some outsized compensation packages for leadership at the Health Wagon, which is a free nonprofit clinic in far Southwest Virginia. They're serving a community that's very much so in need of services, and their CEOs are awarding themselves pay packages that are very outsized of normal pay packages. I've also had the opportunity to work through the University of Southern California through their health journalism fellowship. I've done a series on infant and maternal health care in rural Virginia over the last year or over the last 6 months rather. And I have covered the expansion of doula services in some of these more rural areas, and how much that improves the birthing experience for Black and Brown women. I've also recently traveled out to far Southwest Virginia for a story covering pregnancy and substance use disorder, the services that are and are not available to these women. I had the opportunity to talk with one mom who struggled with substance use disorder for a really long time and finally got the help that she needed through the drug court system. She may have been able to enter recovery sooner if she had felt comfortable in confiding in her healthcare providers during her pregnancy. And that turned out to be a 3-part story that I think has had a really significant impact. I've had a lot of great feedback from the community about that. And I'll continue to report on infant and maternal health care going forward, and looking forward to covering the General Assembly and the new policies that are introduced this next session.
VFN received national attention as the go-to resource for philanthropy in the Commonwealth this year when VFN's CFO was interviewed for an article on family foundations in Virginia. VFN members' support of VMAP's REACH PPP program equips primary care providers statewide with the skills and knowledge to better manage pediatric health. 128 providers from all corners of the state and many points in between have been trained in this intensive course. Now, thousands of Virginia's pediatric patients have immediate access to providers who are better prepared to address their mental health needs. New listservs were launched to connect members by region and by role. Please let a member of VFN team know if you would like to be added to one or more of them. A new affinity group for program officers was launched at this year's conference. The group has begun to meet quarterly. Now that VFN is entering its next phase as an organization, VFN must create a sustainable business model to expand its service to members and work toward our vision that all Virginia communities are valued and thriving and are empowered and supported by a strong and vibrant philanthropic sector. This business model will include a healthy balance of revenues between membership fees, philanthropic contributions from its members, grants, sponsorships, and earned income. VFN's advisory board adopted a new membership fee structure effective this January to generate between 40 and 45% of annual revenues. This percentage will bring us closer to the national average for philanthropic serving organizations our size. I will now turn the program over to Dan Lehman, CEO of the Community Foundation of the Central Blue Ridge and Chair of VFN's Governance Committee.
Thank you, Clark. I'm delighted to begin by announcing that Heather Peeler, President and CEO for of Alexandria, will return to the advisory board in 2025 after taking a leave of absence from the board this year to focus on a milestone anniversary for her organization. When you have a chance to interact with Heather, please join us in thanking her for her willingness to return as a volunteer leader for VFN. On behalf of the advisory board, and with the approval of our fiscal sponsor Path Partnerships, I bring to you 4 nominations for the VFN Advisory Board for 3-year terms of service beginning in 2025, including Christy Conley, CEO of the Path Foundation, to serve a 2nd term, Aaron Hogan, Managing Director and Philanthropic Market Executive for Bank of America's Philanthropic Solutions business, to serve a 2nd term, Travis Jackson, Executive Director, CEO of With Bland Foundation, to serve a 2nd term, and Michelle Nelson, Chief Financial Officer of the Community Foundation for Greater Richmond, to serve her 1st term on the advisory board.
Thank you, Dan. At this time, I'll call for a vote to accept these nominations for VFN's advisory board using the Zoom poll function. Angie's launched the vote via Zoom. Everyone, please vote.
Clark, we have a majority vote for each one of the nominees, confirming yes.
Great. All the nominations have been accepted by the members present for terms beginning January 1st, 2025. So now I'll turn it over to Beth.
Thank you, Clark. When Clark opened today's annual meeting, he mentioned the work that the advisory board has been doing this year to determine where VFN should lead, prioritize for the present, and align to avoid duplication of efforts. We started with defining VFN's value proposition. VFN is the only Virginia-focused organization for funders, serving statewide and as a regional convener. This quote from a member on the value of VFN membership emphasizes the importance of having an organized, connected philanthropic sector. Where shall VFN lead? We will become the go-to resource on and for Virginia philanthropy, and we will do so by leveraging our unique position of providing a Virginia lens to the issues impacting Virginia communities, serving as the backbone of co-funding collaborations, expanding our convening role statewide and regionally to include leaders from the public and business sectors so that we can better understand and act on issues faced by Virginia communities. And we will create a philanthropy master plan for Virginia, showcasing how funders can take collective action to address disparities and strengthen Virginia communities. Here are just a few steps that VFN will take in 2025 in response to the priorities raised by members over the course of this year. As a part of a website refresh, VFN will launch a member-only portal with toolkits for funders and a searchable member directory. As we form a policy and advocacy framework to support philanthropy's interest in Virginia, we will begin with a Virginia General Assembly bill tracking service for the 2025 session. This service, in partnership with the Center for Nonprofit Excellence, will keep members informed about legislation impacting the philanthropy sector and Virginia communities. And we will develop a strategy to support funders that invest in rural regions of the Commonwealth, where there are fewer funders and philanthropic investment lags. As we draw this annual meeting to a close, I ask you to join me in thanking the members of VFN's advisory board who have dedicated countless hours this year to ensure VFN's ability to carry out our mission. And a special note of appreciation to Clark Castile, whose term as board chair ends this month. As chair, he guided the board's strategic conversations to bring focus to VFN's work as we begin the next phase of VFN's journey as an organization. And thanks to Scott Blackwell, who is retiring from the board this year. While on the board, he served as VFN treasurer and a member of the 2024 Conference Planning Committee. We are most appreciative of Scott's investment of time and talents to VFN. We are also internally grateful for our 2024 Sustainers Circles, members who invest above and beyond VFN's minimum membership threshold with additional contributions, grants, conference sponsorships, and/or multi-year pledges. These organizations have helped VFN grow and expand our service to members. The VFN team is thankful for each of you and your member organization for your commitment to this work. Mark your calendars for these upcoming events, especially the 4th annual conference, which will be held in Northern Virginia at Lansdowne Resort in April. We hope to see each of you there. And lastly, our membership drive for 2025 is currently underway. We look forward to your continued engagement in VFN. And now I'll ask Clark to close out our annual meeting.
Thanks, Beth. And thank you all for attending this important meeting of the Virginia Funders Network. We can all be proud that together we've created a philanthropic community that is committed to working together and to ensuring Virginia's communities can prosper. I am delighted to pass the gavel to Dan Lehman, who will become VFN's board chair for 2026. Dan will lead VFN as we continue to build upon the foundations established 4 short years ago when we launched Virginia's only organization serving the funder community. We stand adjourned and thank you all.